Listen closely, my friends. There are individuals in this world who move through chaos and somehow remain untouched. They experience disrespect, but they don't retaliate. They face immense pressure, but they don't shatter. They lose things, but they never lose themselves. And when you observe them closely, you notice something peculiar. It's not that life treats them more kindly. It's that they've conditioned their mind in a way most people never will right now. You believe your biggest problems are stress, overthinking, and emotional turmoil. But what if I told you your real issue is that your mind remains untrained? And because of that, anyone, anything, any situation can seize control of you. Consider this: a single message can ruin your entire mood. A single insult can shatter your confidence. A single bad day can halt your momentum. That means you are not in the driver's seat. And in a world like this, where people are easily provoked, easily sidetracked, easily swayed, the individual who masters their mind commands everything. So, in this video, I'm going to reveal 10 powerful lessons that will forge mental resilience, poise under strain, and emotional invincibility. Not superficial tips, but profound, actionable philosophical principles drawn from thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and others. But understand this clearly: these lessons are not simple. They will test you, they will reveal you, they will push you to face parts of yourself you've been hiding from. And most people will give up halfway, but if you remain until the very end, you won't just feel inspired, you will begin to think in a fundamentally new way. Let's begin. Lesson 1: command the gap between stimulus and response. There exists a moment so fleeting, so imperceptible that most people never even recognize it. It is the instant between what occurs and how you choose to react. Someone slights you. There is a moment something goes awry. There is a moment you sense anger, fear, frustration. There is a moment, and within that moment, the course of your entire life is determined. But here is the problem: most people never harness that moment. They bypass it. They react on impulse. Someone shows them disrespect. They strike back. Something doesn't unfold as planned. They panic. They feel rage. They detonate. And just like that, they forfeit control. Epictetus once stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But most people misinterpret this. They assume it simply means remain calm, but it signifies something far deeper. It means your authority resides in the pause. That tiny interval between stimulus and response is where your liberation resides. Imagine a mountain. Storms batter, it winds, crash violently against it. Rain attempts to wear it down. But the mountain doesn't flinch, it doesn't shift, it doesn't panic, it doesn't fight back, because it has no need to. It's anchored. Now contrast that with a dried leaf. The wind blows and the leaf is carried away. No stability, no agency, no foundation. Most people live like that leaf. Resilient individuals become the mountain. Examine your own life. How many times have you spoken words you later regretted, reacted impulsively, overreacted to trivial matters? Let someone else dictate your emotional state. That's not a sign of weakness. That's a lack of conscious awareness. Because if you were truly aware of that moment, you would make a different choice next time something triggers you. Resist the urge to respond immediately. Instead, hold steady for just 3 to 5 seconds. Acknowledge the emotion, but don't act on it. Witness it like an impartial spectator and ask yourself, do I want to lash out, or do I want to respond thoughtfully? That single question transforms everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events, not some power, not partial control, complete power, but only if you employ it. Because if you don't govern your reaction, the world will think of the ocean on the surface. Waves are turbulent, roaring, fierce, but far below it's serene, motionless, untouchable. Your mind has layers. Most people dwell on the surface, which is why every minor disturbance unsettles them. But when you train yourself to pause, you descend deeper, and suddenly nothing affects you in the same way. The moment you cease reacting instantly, you stop being governed, you stop being predictable, you stop being exploited, you stop being fragile in emotional situations. and gradually you become someone others cannot easily decipher, someone who doesn't crumble under pressure, someone who chooses rather than reacts. That is true authority. Lesson 2: separate your ego from external events. Let me share something most people never grasp. You are not wounded by what happens, you are wounded by what you believe it signifies. Read that again, because this single insight alone can liberate you from 80% of your emotional anguish. Something occurs, someone overlooks you, you fail at something, someone insults you, and immediately your mind spins a narrative. They don't respect me, I'm inadequate, I always mess up, there's something wrong with me. But here's the reality: the event was neutral. The suffering came from your interpretation. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." This is where most people forfeit control. They fail to separate reality from their ego. They personalize everything, and everything becomes about them. And when your ego is tied to everything, everything has the power to harm you. Picture a mirror in a forest. Whatever stands before it, it reflects. A lion approaches, it reflects the lion. A storm passes, it reflects the storm. A shattered tree falls, it reflects that too. But the mirror remains completely unaffected. It doesn't become the storm, it doesn't become the destruction. It simply reflects reality as it is. That's how your mind ought to operate. But instead, most people are like murky water. Anything touches them, and they become agitated. Their clarity vanishes. Let's say someone fails to reply to your message. Reality is they didn't reply, that's all. But your mind says they're disregarding me, they don't value me, I must have done something wrong. Now your mood shifts, your energy plummets, you start spiraling, all because of a story you fabricated, not actuality. From now on, begin distinguishing two things: what actually transpired and what you're telling yourself about it. Condition your mind to acknowledge this is what happened, and this is merely my interpretation. That one habit dismantles emotional delusions. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He would reduce events to their bare essence. Instead of declaring this is terrible, this is unjust, he would say this is simply an event, nothing beyond that. Because when you strip away emotional labels, you strip away unnecessary suffering. Consider the sky. Clouds drift in and out, storms appear and vanish, lightning flashes, rain pours, but the sky remains unchanged. Your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances, they are clouds, but your awareness is the sky. And the moment you align with the sky rather than the clouds, you become invulnerable. When you detach your ego, something profound occurs. You stop taking things personally, you stop reacting emotionally, you stop being easily wounded, and suddenly people lose their hold over you, because they can no longer manipulate your interpretation. The moment you stop making everything about yourself, you liberate yourself from needless pain. You begin to see clearly, think clearly, live with mastery, and that's rare. Lesson 3: safeguard your energy as if it's your lifeline. Let's get brutally honest. Your greatest challenge isn't a shortage of time, it's a shortage of managed energy. You wake up motivated, but by the end of the day, you feel depleted, irritable, and mentally exhausted, and you think you simply need rest. But that's not the real culprit. You're hemorrhaging energy all day long, and you don't even realize it. It's not the major crises that destroy you, it's the small, incessant leaks. Pointless conversations, toxic people, rumination, scrolling, comparing, reacting to every little thing. Every time you engage with something unnecessary, you forfeit a fragment of your mental strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Meaning, whatever you expose your mind to, you transform into. If you surround yourself with disorder, you become disordered. If you consume negativity, you become negative. And if you don't curate your environment will curate you. Picture a pristine river winding through a forest, clear, tranquil, untainted. Now imagine toxic waste slowly being poured into it, not all at once, but steadily, drop by drop. At first, nothing seems different, but over time, the water becomes contaminated. Life within it begins to perish. The flow becomes sluggish and murky. That's your mind. Every negative interaction, every pointless distraction is contamination. And if you don't defend it, you slowly lose clarity. You speak with someone who constantly complains, and after 10 minutes you feel weighed down. You scroll social media for 30 minutes, and now your concentration is shattered. You argue with someone over something trivial, and now your entire day feels derailed. These aren't random consequences. This is energy depletion. Start asking yourself one question: is this worthy of my energy? Before replying, before engaging, before reacting, pause and assess, because not everything merits your attention, and attention is your most precious asset. Epictetus taught you become what you give your attention to. So, if you feed your attention to trivialities, you slowly become part of them. But if you guard your attention, you cultivate mental toughness. Consider a tree in a harsh environment. If its roots are exposed to poison, it withers, but if the roots are shielded, even storms cannot uproot it. Your attention is your root. Where you direct it determines your resilience. You can't be mentally strong if you're constantly surrounded by fragility. You can't stay composed if you keep flooding your mind with disorder. You can't evolve if your energy is being drained daily. Curtail unnecessary interactions. Distance yourself from negative influences. Reduce mindless scrolling. Stop reacting to everything. Invest time in stillness. These aren't minor habits. These are energy shields. The moment you start protecting your energy, you stop feeling exhausted and start feeling empowered, because now your mind is no longer exposed to everything. It's guarded, and mastery is where strength originates. Lesson 4. Eliminate your expectations before they eliminate your tranquility. Let me ask you something. Why do you feel frustrated? Why do you experience disappointment, anger, or irritation? It's not because life is difficult. It's because life didn't unfold according to your expectations. Read that again. The hidden root of suffering is expectation. You expect people to treat you with respect. You expect things to proceed smoothly. You expect results from your efforts. You expect fairness. And when reality doesn't align with that expectation, you suffer, not because of reality, but because of the gap between what is and what you desired. That gap is where frustration is conceived. Marcus Aurelius understood this profoundly. He conditioned himself each morning to anticipate challenging people, unjust situations, unforeseen obstacles, not because he was pessimistic, but because he was prepared. Picture a river carving through rocks. The river doesn't anticipate a clear path. It doesn't grow angry at barriers. It doesn't halt and complain. It adjusts. It flows around, over and through, because it holds no expectations. It moves in harmony with reality. But humans anticipate a smooth road, and when life presents them with rocks, they fracture. You assist someone and anticipate gratitude, but they don't acknowledge you, and now you feel wounded. But the pain didn't stem from helping. It stemmed from anticipating something. In return, you work diligently and anticipate success. Things don't materialize, and now you feel like a failure again, not reality. Expectations. Start practicing this before anything occurs. Remind yourself things might not proceed as I hope. People might let me down. Plans might collapse. This isn't pessimism. This is psychological armor, because when you anticipate less, you handle more. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do happen." That's authority. It means cease trying to control reality and begin aligning with it. Consider the weather. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it storms. You don't govern it. But imagine becoming enraged every time it rains. Sounds absurd, right? But that's precisely what you do with life. You grow angry at things you never had authority over. Expectation is an unspoken contract that the world never consented to, and every time that contract is violated, you suffer. Do your work without anticipating outcomes. Help people without anticipating gratitude. Plan your day, but embrace uncertainty. Anticipate challenges before they emerge. This doesn't render you weak. It renders you unshakable. The moment you cease expecting life to be flawless, you cease being disillusioned by reality. You become adaptable, composed, grounded like the river. You no longer resist life. You move with it. Lesson 5. Transform pain into strength. Let's be honest. You experience anger. You experience frustration. You experience pain and your immediate impulse is, I need to eliminate this. So, what do? You seek distraction, you suppress it, you evade it. But here's the reality, no one tells you your negative emotions are not the issue. Your inability to channel them is anger, frustration, pain. These are not weaknesses, they are raw fuel uncontrolled. They devastate you controlled. They elevate you. The Stoics never advocated for emotional numbness. They said feel, but don't become, meaning you can experience anger without letting it dictate your actions. You can feel pain without letting it define your identity. Consider a volcano. Inside there is pressure, heat, explosive force. If it erupts uncontrollably, it obliterates everything around it. But that same volcanic energy over time produces the most fertile soil on earth. Life flourishes from it. That's your anger, uncontrolled devastation. Controlled creation. Someone disrespects you and you explode. You argue. You lose composure. Later you regret it. Same scenario, but this time you remain silent. You take that anger and redirect it into working harder, bettering yourself, cultivating discipline. Now that same anger just elevated your life. Next time you experience a powerful negative emotion, don't suppress it and don't react impulsively. Instead, ask yourself, how can I harness this? Convert anger into drive, convert frustration into concentration, convert pain into advancement. Marcus Aurelius believed obstacles are not in your way, they are the way, meaning the very thing wounding you is the thing designed to strengthen you. Consider pressure deep beneath the earth. Over time, that pressure produces diamonds. No pressure means no diamonds. Same with you. No pain means no growth. If you keep avoiding discomfort, you remain fragile. If you learn to exploit it, you become formidable. When angry, train harder, work harder. When frustrated, focus deeper. When hurt, construct something meaningful. When rejected, refine yourself. Don't squander emotional energy, rechannel it. The moment you stop fleeing from pain and start utilizing it, you become unstoppable, because now nothing can crush you. Everything becomes fuel. Lesson 6. Conquer overthinking by grounding yourself in the present. Let me ask you something. How much time do you invest thinking about things that haven't even occurred? Yet be truthful. You envision worst-case scenarios. You replay conversations in your head. You agonize over the future, and gradually you begin to feel anxious without anything actually happening. Overthinking is not genuine thinking. It's unbridled imagination. You are fabricating problems that don't even exist. You are waging battles that are not real, and your mind responds as if they are real. That's the snare. What this does to you is straightforward but perilous. Your body experiences stress. Your energy declines. Your focus evaporates. Your peace is gone. All because of something that only dwells in your mind. The Stoics grasped this profoundly. They knew anxiety originates from inhabiting a future that doesn't exist. Marcus Aurelius would continually anchor himself with one question: what is happening right now? Not tomorrow, not later, right now. Consider a deer in the wilderness. When there's danger, it reacts instantly and flees, but once the danger passes, it returns to grazing. It doesn't remain there thinking, what if the lion returns? What if I die tomorrow? It returns to the present. That's why it remains at ease. Humans do the opposite. We sit safely and still manufacture fear. You have an important conversation tomorrow. Instead of preparing calmly, you start imagining, what if I stumble? What if they judge me? What if it goes poorly? Now your anxiety escalates, your confidence wanes, and by the time the moment arrives, you are already mentally depleted, not because of reality, but because of imagination. From now on, when your mind starts overthinking, ask yourself, is this occurring right now? If the answer is no, redirect yourself. Focus on your breath, your surroundings, what you're doing, because reality exists only in the present. Everything else is mental interference. Epictetus taught, you don't suffer from events, you suffer from your imagination of them. That's why mastery of attention is everything. Where your attention goes, your emotional state follows. Consider your mind like a flashlight in the dark. Wherever you aim it, that area becomes your reality. Aim it at fear, and you experience fear. Aim it at the present, and you experience calm. The darkness hasn't shifted. Only your focus has. Most of your anxiety is self-generated, not by reality, but by your unwillingness to remain present. Limit contemplation of things beyond your control. Focus solely on the next step. Bring attention back to your breath. Stop replaying past and future scenarios. This isn't avoidance. This is mastery. The moment you stop living in your imagination, you start living in reality, and in reality, most things are not as dire as your mind portrays them. That's where peace commences. Lesson 7. Cease seeking approval. Let me ask you honestly, how much of what you do is genuinely for yourself, and how much is for validation? Consider it. You post something, and then constantly check who liked it. You do something commendable and wait for acknowledgement. You accomplish something and desire recognition, and when it doesn't arrive, you feel overlooked, underappreciated, insufficient. That signifies one thing: your self-worth is placed in someone else's custody. The moment you start depending on approval, you forfeit freedom, because now your mood hinges on others, your confidence hinges on others, your choices hinge on others, and gradually you stop being yourself. You begin performing, acting, adjusting just to be accepted. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I am not made for what others think of me." Reflect on that. Most people live like this: if they approve of me, I'm valuable. If they criticize me, I'm worthless. That's emotional bondage. Observe the sun. It shines every day. It doesn't ask, do they appreciate my light? Are they acknowledging me today? It doesn't care if it's overcast or if people notice. It simply radiates. That's authority. Now, contrast that with a candle in the wind. A small gust, and it flickers. That's someone who depends on approval. You do something good, but no one acknowledges it, and suddenly your drive diminishes. Why? Because you weren't doing it for yourself. You were doing it for validation, and without it, you feel empty. Start asking yourself daily, did I act in accordance with my principles? Not did people like me, or did I receive praise? If the answer is yes, that's sufficient, because real confidence stems from self-respect, not applause. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be willing to be seen as foolish. Meaning, stop trying to appear flawless. Stop trying to impress everyone, because growth demands discomfort, and approval seeking stifles growth. Consider a tree growing in the forest. It doesn't compare itself. It doesn't request validation. It doesn't cease growing because no one is observing. It grows because that's its nature. That's how you should live. If praise can make you feel powerful, criticism can devastate you, because both originate from external control. So act even when no one is observing. Stop monitoring validation. Constantly accept that not everyone will appreciate you. Focus on your standards, not others' opinions. Establish a system where your judgment of yourself outweighs anyone else's, because the moment you stop needing approval, you become liberated, free from opinions, free from strain, free from emotional reliance. And when you're liberated, you become formidable in a world crowded with approval seekers. Lesson 8. Master the art of solitude. Let's be honest, when was the last time you sat alone, without a phone, without music, without distraction, just you and your thoughts? Most people cannot do it. The moment silence emerges, they reach for something, a screen, a video, a conversation. Why? Because beneath the surface they are uneasy with themselves. Silence is not the issue. What surfaces in silence is the issue: your thoughts, your insecurities, your fears, your unresolved emotions. And instead of confronting them, you flee. But here's the reality: what you avoid dominates you. The Stoics didn't retreat from their mind. They disciplined it. They invested time in stillness, reflecting, observing, understanding, because they knew if you can't abide with yourself, you can't govern yourself. Picture a lake. When the surface is disturbed, you can't perceive anything clearly. Everything is distorted and unstable. But when the water becomes calm, it reflects everything perfectly, clear and unaltered. That's your mind. When you're perpetually distracted, your thoughts are muddled and emotions volatile. But in stillness, clarity emerges. You sense something amiss: stress, anxiety, confusion, and instead of comprehending it, you distract yourself. You scroll, you watch, you talk, you escape. And temporarily it feels better, but later it resurfaces stronger because you never confronted it. Start modestly each day. Sit in stillness for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions. Simply observe. Don't resist your thoughts. Don't evaluate them. Just watch like clouds drifting across the sky. Marcus Aurelius used to write to himself daily, not for others, not for validation, but to comprehend his own mind. That's why he was composed, because he knew himself. And when you know yourself, nothing catches you off guard. Consider the night sky. During the day, you can't perceive the stars because of excessive light and noise, but at night in stillness, the stars emerge. They were always there. You just never remained still long enough to see them. Same with your mind. Clarity is already within you. You simply never stay quiet long enough to perceive it. If you can't be alone with your thoughts, you'll always depend on distractions. And distraction is quiet vulnerability. Sit in stillness daily. Journal your reflections. Observe your emotions without acting on them. Reduce constant stimulation. This isn't inactivity. This is mental conditioning. The moment you become at ease in stillness, you become powerful in disorder, because now your peace doesn't rely on the external world. It originates from within. Lesson 9. Cease letting trivialities govern you. Let me ask you something. The thing that's stressing you right now, will it matter in 1 year? Ponder carefully. That dispute, that error, that embarrassment, that hold up, will it still matter most of the time? No, yet right now, it feels monumental, crushing, like it's everything. The hidden issue is straightforward. Your perspective is too confined. When you focus too narrowly on a problem, it appears larger than it actually is, like placing your eye directly next to an object. It obstructs your entire vision, but the moment you step back, you perceive the full landscape. Marcus Aurelius practiced something potent. He would mentally zoom out. He would survey life from above, from the dimension of time, from the broader view. And suddenly everything seemed smaller. Picture viewing your city from the ground. Everything feels vast, hectic, loud, overwhelming. Now picture viewing it from the sky. Buildings appear miniature. People resemble specks. Noise fades. Nothing changed except your vantage point. You make a mistake in front of others, and in the moment you feel mortified. You overthink. You replay it incessantly. But after a few weeks, you barely recall it. After a year, it's forgotten. So why grant it so much influence now? Whenever something unsettles you, ask yourself, will this matter in 1 year? Will this matter in 5 years? Will this matter at the end of my life? If the answer is no, don't sacrifice your peace for it. The Stoics believed you should concentrate only on what genuinely matters, because your energy is finite. If you squander it on trivialities, you won't have enough for what's significant. Consider the universe, galaxies, stars, infinite space. Now consider your problem. Where does it stand? Almost negligible. This doesn't render your problem meaningless. It renders it manageable. You are not stressed because life is excessively demanding. You are stressed because you treat everything as critical, and when everything is critical, everything overwhelms you. Cease overreacting to minor issues. Concentrate only on what truly matters. Release minor frustrations. Swiftly train your mind to zoom out. This isn't dismissing problems. This is prioritizing your tranquility. The moment you learn to zoom out, you stop being controlled by trivialities. You become calmer, clearer, more focused, because now you perceive life as it is, not as your emotions magnify it. Lesson 10. Adopt the role of observer, not reactor. After everything you've learned, there is one ultimate shift that transforms everything. It's this: you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are the one who witnesses them right now. Thoughts arise in your mind, emotions surge within you: anger, fear, doubt, excitement, and most people merge with them. They declare, I am angry, I am anxious, I am sad. But that's inaccurate. You are not anger, you are not anxiety, you are not sadness, you are the one perceiving them. Because the moment you identify with emotions, you forfeit control, but the moment you observe them, you establish distance, and in that distance, you gain authority. Picture sitting at the edge of a road, watching cars pass by. Each car is a thought, each car is an emotion. Some are swift, some are loud, some are unsettling, but you don't board every car, you simply watch. That's what your mind should do, but most people jump into every thought and every emotion and get swept away. You experience anger, and instead of observing it, you embody it. You react, you speak, you repent. Same with anxiety, same with sadness. But imagine this: you experience anger, and you say anger is present. Not I am angry now, there's breathing room now, there's authority from now on. Begin naming your emotions like this: fear is here, anger is rising, stress is present. This cultivates separation, and separation cultivates awareness. This concept exists across philosophies like Stoicism, Buddhism, and modern psychology. They all point to the same truth: awareness is liberation. When you are aware, you are not controlled. Consider the sky. Once more clouds drift in and out, storms sweep through, but the sky remains unchanged. Your thoughts are clouds, your emotions are storms, but your awareness is the sky, and the sky is always pristine. If you keep identifying with every emotion, you will always feel unsteady. But if you observe them, you become grounded. Name emotions instead of embodying them. Observe thoughts without engaging. Create space before action. Practice awareness daily. This is not suppression, this is mastery. Listen carefully. You began this as someone reacting to life. Now you possess the tools to command it. These 10 lessons are not mere information, they are transformation, but only if you implement them, because knowledge without application alters nothing. So now the decision is yours: revert to your old patterns or step into mastery, because once you perceive this clearly, you cannot unsee it, and once you begin practicing, you don't regress. You become calmer, stronger, unshakable, and gradually you become the person that chaos cannot affect. Stay disciplined, stay aware, stay in control.